Hello, Wranglers. How you doing? Back once again, and apologize for sometimes the slower production of my videos here. Just that, as you know, I'm recovering from some stuff. Anyway, let me do some quick housekeeping, and we're going to jump right into the story. Like and subscribe if you dig the channel. Catch me on Tuesday nights, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, live with Babblegab, and my merch is available too. All that's in the description link. So and get a cool hat like this or whatever. Anyway, today we're talking about the Ourang Medan. The Ourang Medan was a cargo ship, we believe. Some people think this story is a urban myth. Some people think it's true, and some people call this a ghost ship, and some people, you know, don't think it's a ghost ship, obviously. But the Ourang Medan, let me tell you about what happened here. It was June of 1947. This was in the Straits of Malacca down near Sumatra, I believe. And there was two American vessels going through those straits. One was called the Silver Star, one was called the City of Baltimore. They were cruising along and they got a distress signal. Now, this distress signal said this. Now, let me read this. This is in Morse code, okay? The guy's typing it out in Morse code. We float. All officers, including the captain, dead in and on the bridge, probably whole of crew dead. I die. That was the message they got. So let me read that for you one more time. All we float, all officers, including captain, dead in chart room and on the bridge, probably whole of crew dead. I die. I think I read it wrong the first time. Anyway, that's the distress call that they got. So these two ships, I guess go full flanking speed, and they start heading towards the area where this message came from. They knew they couldn't be too far, so they're heading to help to render aid. Mariners tend to help each other out no matter what. I don't even care if they're enemies. Sometimes in the war, you sink an enemy ship, you go and save the sailors. Okay, um, so they're heading into there, and they find the ship. They find the Orang Medan, and they go and they pull alongside and they go over to investigate. What they find there was pretty mind blowing. People were dead all over the deck. They were on their backs, holding their arms up. The people were dead in the chart room. The communications officer was dead at his seat, and they're all in agonizing expressions. There was even a dog that evidently was on his back with his paws up, uh, being dead there, if you want to call it that, but who had been affected by whatever killed the crew, it killed this dog as well. So they're investigating, and they realize that the ship's starting to, shudder a little bit, and they decide they need to get back off this vessel and get, they don't know what killed anybody, so they jump back. They need to basically get back to their ship, and they're going to tow this thing to a safe harbor to continue the investigation. Okay, so they get over to their ship. I don't know if it was the Silver Star or the Baltimore that hooked it up on the tow, but they start towing the Orang Medan, and as soon as they start towing it, yeah, loud rumbling noise hits, and boom, the ship blows to pieces and sinks. Basically the whole back. I don't know where it was exactly, but the big explosion on the ship breaks basically in half, and the thing sinks down. Okay, so the two American vessels, the Silver Star and the City of Baltimore, are heading back to a safe port. Now, what I forgot to mention, or well, I will mention now, is the Ourang Medan was a Dutch ship. So it had Dutch crew members, it had German crew members, and probably a few other nationalities on it. And so these two American ships head into the port, and they basically tell their account. Now, this story kind of got into the newspapers and was seen in Europe and in England, and it was seen in America and in Holland. Probably 2 to 3 years later, here and there, they didn't have an internet back then. This was 1947, so news traveled slow. Now, one of the things about the Orang Medan that probably made this a lower priority to a lot of people is this ship was not registered in the global ship registry. I guess you'd call it the Lloyd's ship registry that Britain keeps of all the vessels that they know are afloat. The Orang Medan was not registered there, but had a Dutch crew, and had a Sumatra name. There's a very good chance it was just registered in Sumatra and not anywhere else. But and I'll get to that why they did that in a second. So this is the story thus far. Now, they had all kinds of theories about what happened. They believed the Orang Medan could be carrying illegal cargo for making weapons, and that illegal cargo would be stuff like cyanide, potassium cyanide, nitroglycerin, things like that, and that could have been affected, and like the cyanide could have gotten released and killed the people. It could have been, maybe a nerve gas agent of some kind, that well, potassium cyanide, I think, is used in a nerve gas. And then you have the carbon monoxide poisoning was a theory too, that the engines were malfunctioning badly and flooded the ship with carbon monoxide. Now, let me, I'm going to warn you right now, warning, warning, warning. There's a little bit of a graphic picture here, but it's nothing most people haven't seen before because they saw the show where it came from, okay? This is Joffrey here from Game of Thrones. And this is what they say about cyanide poison being so agony. Now you see Joffrey's on his back with his mouth open. That's not what typical cyanide poisoning looks like, but it's good for dramatic effect. We'll talk about more about that. I don't think it was cyanide poisoning that killed them. Okay, cyanide causes muscle cramps and constrictions and all that. So you would have had people, dead on their face, dead, curled up in balls, gasping for breath. It's a really bad poison, and you just don't lay on your back and reach up to the sky when you're cyanide poisoning. There's actually news clips of like some guy that was getting ready to get sentenced to life or something. Some Pedro Bear, we'll put it that way, was sitting in. I mean, I shouldn't say Pedro. I should, some guy who committed SA on children was sitting in court, and he got busted and he was going to prison, and he had a cyanide capsule in his mouth, and he bit that, and you could see what happened to him right there. And there was foam coming out of his mouth and this other stuff, and they didn't report any foam out of the mouths of these guys laying on their back with their arms up. Your cyanide contracts your muscles, you'd be almost a fetal position. So I don't think it was cyanide. And I'm going to come back to that slide in just a second. But no, I'm going to talk about this here now. And some people think it was nerve gas. Well, that's what cyanide is used to make. And then it wasn't carbon monoxide, because carbon monoxide people don't lay on their back and reach to the sky. Most of the carbon dioxide deaths, people are dead. They look like they're asleep. Now, I was a police officer for a few years, and they taught us how to identify this stuff, and it was very easy to identify. First of all, people would be generally like a sleeping position or holding their stomach, okay, because it makes you vomit. They didn't report any vomit, these people had thrown up or anything on the ship. And, they're on their back with their hands up. Not cyanide, carbon monoxide makes you go to sleep, makes you drowsy, makes you puke, and it's uncomfortable. But the discoloration comes from the palms of the feet and the bottom type surfaces. You'd be red. I mean, carbon monoxide poisoning can look very peaceful. I saw an account once of a family, all like 7 of them had died from carbon monoxide poisoning, and they were just all asleep in their beds. One kid was not feeling well, and he opened his window, and he was sitting by an open window, and it still was too much for him by this point, because carbon monoxide binds with your red blood cells where the oxygen would go, and then your blood can't carry oxygen. And the kid, had thrown up and all that kind of stuff, and pardon the graphic description, but I don't think this was carbon monoxide poisoning, and I'll tell you what I think it was here in a bit. um, so so it wasn't cyanide. I don't think it was carbon monoxide. I don't think it was nerve gas, because that's what the cyanide basically is. Now, let me tell you something about this. They did supposedly find a survivor from the Ourang Medan on a Sumatran island down there, a German guy. And he said what had happened was the Ourang Medan had a cargo hold, and in one of the cargo, obviously it had a cargo hold, but in one of the cargo holds it had a bunch of sulfur that was being, I'm not sure exactly what sulfur compound it was, but that got wet, and this sulfuric gas came coming out, and basically affecting everybody on the ship. Now, I don't know what sulfuric gas is like, but it could be exactly what they're talking about. If you're burning or something, and your lungs are burning or whatever. We don't know that nobody did an autopsy on any of these bodies, but a lot of times if you burn to death, the arms you do get strung out like that. But this was not burning in the sake of they were on fire, but maybe their lungs had burned and they felt like they were burning and they were laying on their back, reaching up. I don't know. Who knows? But I think it was probably that the sulfur gas that he said there was sulfur gas, and he said there would be a crack in the hull and this water got in and killed everybody. And then when they started to pull the Ourang Medan, the other two American ships, probably more water, probably rushed in and hit that sulfur and kaboom, blew the ship to bits and sank it. That's what I think happened. Now, people think this is a urban myth because the thing wasn't registered or any of that. But okay, we all know what the government's like. We all know what other nations are like, and including our nation, every nation, all these places and other companies and stuff. They have secret ops. Not like this was a military secret op to speak of, like with Navy SEALs and SAS or anything like that. But they have unregistered ships and all that kind of thing, and they do sneaky stuff. And they think that this Dutch ship was taking the weapon component, the weapon compounds, and moving them to a different place there. And excuse the microwave there. But anyway, they think that's what was going on with. I think that's my son. I would try to get him to be on the show, and he didn't want to. So he can eat his pizza rolls. Anyway, okay, back to the subject here. We excuse me, what was I saying? Let me get my notes here. I started using a notebook. I don't like typing the notes out. Um, yeah, the survivor on the island said it was a crack in the hull, and sulfur got to it and blew the thing to bits. Okay, I went out looking for more information on the Orang Medan, and since the thing's not registered, I don't know if we have any official registration, but there's a game called Man of Medan. The guys that wrote this game did a hell of a lot of research, and they believe the Ourang Medan was a Liberty ship. Why is it important that this vessel was a Liberty ship? Well, I'll tell you why it's important. Is because the U.S. produced 2,700 Liberty ships during that period of World War II, and the this is a somebody working on a ship here, and the Liberty ships were notorious for getting cracks and breaks and all that kind of stuff in the hull. At first, they were trying to blame the workers. They couldn't find out it wasn't the workers doing a poor job. It was bad steel. They were using substandard steel that would crack and was too brittle. And so there's numerous accounts of Liberty ships getting cracks in them and breaks and stuff like that. So this would go right along with if this was a repurposed Liberty ship, this would fit in perfectly with that idea, with that theory, with a crack in the hull and then pulling it and thing cracking apart and blowing to bits. That would fit perfectly if this was a Liberty ship. And I looked that up on my own. I didn't know what kind it was. I said, well, since there was all these Liberty ships fit the bill, there was 2,700 plus of these things made. And at the end of the war, we didn't need them. I think the American fleet kept like 13 or 14 of them, but that was about it. And then, the rest of them get repurposed or reused or put in dry docked. I don't know, but, they're all over the place. So it's very likely that something like the Orang Medan could have been an old Liberty ship that was, or, Liberty ship that was being used to do sneaky stuff by the Dutch or the Brits, and everybody all combined could have been a joint operation. It just happened to be a Dutch crew and vessel that was hauling this stuff back and forth. So that's what I think about the Liberty ship theory. With the thing blowing to bits and all that, it fits perfectly. The puzzle pieces fit right in there. I don't think it's that hard to believe that this really happened. It's not an outlandish story. It's not like Cthulhu came out of the water and attacked the ship. It's not like a UFO blew it to bits. It's not like, some other kind of monster or something mysterious, some giant ghost pirate ship came over and attacked the thing. No, this just sounds like a typical underhanded operation that went afoul. Okay, that the ship broke apart, and as these ships were prone to do, and caused an explosion, killed a bunch of people. That's what I think happened. That's not an outlandish story. It's not. It's not. I mean, it's not. It's not too hard to believe. There's lots of people that tell the story, and just because the ship wasn't registered in England doesn't mean anything. I'm sure there's thousands of unregistered ships out there right now. Some of them are probably old Navy vessels of the U.S. and Britain and all kinds of other places. If you think that's unreasonable, let me know. I think it's completely reasonable. And I know Lloyd's is very, very thorough on what they do, but they can't get them all. Okay. But they do a good job. I mean, the Brits, have had a, well, how should I say that? There's something that says one day, even if there's a mud puddle, let's hope that there's an Englishman a sail upon it. I would hope so too. Okay, so anyway, this is the story of the Orang Medan, and I'm going to do one slide here. I just basically is about cyanide poisoning. You can read it here where it comes from, and I'm not going. to It'd be boring for me to sit there and read it for, but I'll put it up here. So if you want to pause and read about it, yeah, probably. There you go. That's basically what it is. So you can look at that. But anyway, this is the mysterious case of the Orang Medan, and I hope you all enjoyed it. And soon I'll be getting my hardware straightened out so I can play some guitar for you. We're also going to take a trip to HE double hockey sticks, probably in our next video. Talk about people who went there and back again. Um, Not the Hobbit's holiday, but the hellacious holiday. Okay, guys, thanks. We'll see you next roundup. Take care.